So here we are on the new, to me, FJR 1300, which has replaced good old Yamaha that I managed to write off earlier this year. So this new one, is now sitting under me, is now a 2020 FJR 1300A. Doesn't have the electronic suspension, doesn't have the auto box, it's just your bog standard A. It's an ex-blood bike with 72,000 miles on it. It came with a huge raft of service history and paperwork. It came with all of the handbooks, which I still can't seem to make sense of. That's a me problem, not a them problem. And red key, 2 sets of panniers, one of which I still need to clean up because it's covered in blood bike stickers and day glow reflective tape. But the other panniers are perfectly usable. Now, it's a great bike. It's a 6-gear because it's made after 2016, so it's the Yamaha 6-gear bike. And like Yamaha, I'm quite taken with it. But still a few issues that need to be sorted out. One of them you would think would be fantastic, would be, oh wow, that's great. It came with a full Maxton suspension kit fitted to it, that is, basically. Front and rear, had new springs, revolve, new rear shock, etc, etc, fully set up for the guy who was riding it. Unfortunately, the guy who was riding it seems to have been a little bit lighter than me, and therefore it's not set up for me. More particularly noticeable at the front when you're braking hard, the forks will bottom out with a hell of a bang. And no amount of messing about with preload, rebound, all that kind of stuff can help. It's just the forks are simply not for my weight. So we have to take that into account. That does affect the handling a bit. It does seem to want to understeer in corners. Doesn't want to go around a corner. I put 2 new tyres on the bike when I first bought it. The good pal John Warrington fitted me 2 new Pirellis, matching Pirelli GTs, are they? I can't remember. Round black things that go on motorcycles. Anyway, 2 of those on, so you know, any handling issues that were caused by the mismatched Bridgestone and Dunlop that were previously fitted to the bike being dealt with. So tyres were replaced, suspension's a little bit icky, which causes a little bit of handling issues. Strangely enough, despite the handling issues that Yamaha had, my old 2002 bike, I had no real issues with it. I actually got to grips with it quite nicely. It felt quite good. Even with that seized rear suspension, once we kind of slackened it off, it was fine. It was a big old lumpy thing, but it seemed to flop into corners lovely, and it felt very neutral most of the time. This doesn't. This feels like it doesn't want to turn, and because of that, and because of the wobbly suspension that it's got on the front, it stops me from feeling like I can get into a flow in bends. It could be that. I could be blaming it on that, but it could be just as much me not being confident after crashing the last bike. It could be a subconscious thing, I don't know, but anyway, I think I would feel happier if I knew the front suspension was better set up. So it's got the Maxton suspension on, which at some point will be sorted out. It's got our 6 gears underneath us. We've got this nice new readout with a big display for miles per hour that flashes up and is wholly inaccurate, to the point where it's indicating 70 mile an hour. I'm actually doing around 62 to 63. And I thought, well, have I put the wrong size tyres on? Is it the wrong profile? Are they reading too, reading too slow? Are they having an effect? No, the profiles are absolutely bang on for the bike. That's exactly what Yamaha recommend. So I guess it's just a really crappy speedo. There's lots of other things to play with on the bike. I love all of the options that it comes with. It comes with something as basic as telling me the outside temperature. That's something I always like from a Honda. It's got cruise control. Like the last one, it's got the up and down screen, electronic. It's got heated hand warmers as a standard from Yamaha. It's got 2 rider modes. It's got touring and sport. Sport does seem to be a little bit snappier, but I tend to keep it in touring most of the time for the stuff I do. But yeah, mirrors are good. Not quite as good as Yamaha's, but not bad. Seat comfort, horrible. Just as bad as Yamaha was originally. I've tried to sort it out a little bit by putting a gel pad and some foam in there. It has helped. It's changed a 50-mile seat into a 90-mile seat. But it hasn't made this an all-day ride, which really Yamaha need to be shot with sugar for creating a range of motorcycles. Well, a motorcycle that ran from 2002 to 2020. What was it? When did they stop making these? 22, 23? But anyway, all that way, and I would say the majority of riders who have bought these, have owned them in the past, their biggest gripe with the bike is seat comfort. Now, Yamaha did release an optional extra for the Gen 3, possibly for the Gen 2 as well, what they call a comfort seat, which I believe is just a standard seat with a gel pad layer. And that is an improvement, but again, not much more of an improvement from what I've heard from various people who own them. So yeah, so seat comfort was an issue when I first got it. It was incredibly painful. It is still a little bit painful. I've pulled the seat apart, I've patted it out with a gel pad and some memory foam. It's helped. You know, it's still no Corbin seat. It's still no Sargent. But it's a slight improvement on how it was. So instead of me crying about my backside at 50 miles, I'm crying about my backside and the pain in my hips and my bum at about 90 miles. What else is there to say about it, really? It's there's too much stuff on the handlebars. In the daytime it's fine, but I've ridden it at night, and you see all this stuff here. You have to familiarise yourself with all of this stuff. You've got a button on the back here for menu, you've got a uppy and downy to cycle through those menus or control the screen. You've got high and low on your headlights, which we'll come back to in a minute because the headlights are LED headlights now. Where we've got this set and reset button for various things, but mostly for the cruise control button that it has on here. You've got a horn button, you've got indicators, you've got a raft of buttons on here, a real mess of buttons. And yeah, you kind of, most times, and you've got your indicators, of course, sitting in the middle of all that mass of hardware. So you kind of familiarise yourself with it of a fashion. I'm still kind of struggling to find the indicators, and that's probably as much to do with the thumb on this Knox glove that I have and I love, because they've always been a little bit too long. I haven't got particularly short thumbs, but they always seem to be just a little bit over long, and that floppy bit at the end there, you see that floppy bit, kind of messes it up for indicating. Anyway, so that's your indicators in that morass of buttons there. Fine on a daytime. You're struggling around. It can be a little bit distracting. You might need to. I find myself looking down a little bit just to try and make sure I'm hitting the right thing. That could be dangerous. You know, I could be looking down here and there could be a car pulling out there, or that large truck. So yeah, you don't want anything to take your eyes off the road. I sure as hell don't. I know that much for sure. More expert riders than me will probably cope with it no problem, but I think anything that distracts from out here is not a good thing for me personally. So that's that, but you'll see something else as well as we get in this dark area. One thing that I noticed at night time, because I rode it once at night, I've ridden this bike once at night for some time as well. It was from the Lakes video actually. One thing I've noticed is it has fantastic headlights. The headlights are absolutely superb, but the problem's not with the headlights at night, the problem's with all the switchgear. There's so much stuff on here that navigating around in the dark, and I've owned this bike for a month now or so, navigating around in the dark with all these switches here, it's an absolute pain in the backside. I know it would be a huge expense, and you know, but Yamaha should have had these backlit or some kind of illumination on this handlebar, at least this handlebar. This handlebar's not so bad. We got the hazards, we got the mode, we got the stop, start and kill switch, and that's it. That's all we got on the right hand side. But the left hand side is just overly packed with stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna have to get used to that, aren't I? So what are you gonna do? It'll all come in time, I'm sure. I'm sure in a year's time, if I haven't crash the sugar out of this bike, I'll be fully familiar with all of that. But at the moment in time, it's a little bit of a distraction, a little bit of a fiddle. But for the most part, I love the look of the bike. I think it looks great. I think the colour's nice. I promised myself I would never have another black car or black motorcycle, and here I am riding a graphite grey and black motorcycle. But beggars can't be choosers when you get one of these offered to you the price I got offered, with all the kit it's got on and with all of the service history, despite its high mileage, because these things will run forever if you service them well. I couldn't knock it back. I paid, the guy wanted $4,500 for the bike. Bearing in mind it's a 2020 plate, ex-blood bike. He gave it to me for $4,300. He put a fresh 12 months MOT on it that day, the day that I picked it up. And he even gave me a full tank of fuel. So you can't say fairer than that, and 200 quid off. So yeah, I could have bought a lower mileage bike, I could have paid more. I could have paid about the same amount for a very, very clean low mileage Gen 2. But this Gen, what I like to call a Gen 3 Plus, because it's the actual Gen 3 with the later 6-gear gearbox cluster in it, they don't come up that cheap that often. And if they do, they tend to be ex-police bikes with that big fiberglass bucket on the back instead of a pillion seat, which this did not have. So I was quite pleased about that. So anyway, that was me settling in with a new bike. Meeting a new boss, in many ways same as the old boss. Yeah, so that's our introduction to our new FJR 1300. And as I name all my bikes, because I'm a bit sad, and I like naming my bikes and cars for no other reason than it pleases my children. This one is called Sleipnir, after Odin's 8-legged horse, which I think is quite apt. And I'm hoping myself and Sleipnir can be zipping off around the British Isles. But here we are out and about. One of the things I've noticed, it on tickover seems a little bit more vibraty, less smooth. And the 6th gear, I used to twist on about the FJR having 5 gears and always wanting to go for a 6th gear. Oh, and that's something else this bike has that the old one didn't have, is a gear indicator. So I used to twist on about that, constantly going for the 6th gear. But the engine was very torquey and it felt very smooth. Not quite as turbine smooth as, say, a ZZR 1400, a Kawasaki ZZR 1400, but certainly a very smooth inline 4. Pick this one up, and I know after so many miles every bike develops its own character and characteristics. Pick this one up and it feels a lot more vibey. But strange enough, I get no fizzy finger on this bike. I used to get a little bit of fizzy finger on the old one. On this bike I don't, but it feels like it vibes more, and that could be something to do with the suspension. I don't know. It just feels that way. And yeah, I cried on and cried on and cried on for 6 gears, and now that I've got 6 gears, the engine doesn't seem to have as much character. And even though I've got closer spaced ratios, it doesn't seem to be as torquey. I don't know why that is. It just doesn't feel as grunty as Yamaha did. Although Sleipnir does shift when you want it to. I mean, you know, I've heard FJR riders say, "Oh, they're super fantastic. They're so fast. They're everything you ever want." Yeah, they probably are. And they're probably everything I ever want as a 58-year-old slow coach. But they're not a fast bike. They're not. If you want a fast bike, just, you know, jump on a Hayabusa or a Kawasaki ZZR 14 or any of the 1000cc from the Big 4 or BMW. They are fast bikes. This can cover ground well, but it's not a fast bike. You know, you can open this up flat out from the stop, nail it in first, and it doesn't make you go anything other than, oh well, we're moving now. You know, it doesn't make you do what the Hayabusa did, which was Jesus Christ, and make you think, wow, I need to recalibrate a bit. It doesn't do that. it doesn't offer those mind-bending speeds. It's just quick, it's just rapid, it covers distance nicely. That's what it's for. It ain't no muscle-bound missile. But that touches on another thing it has as well. It has traction control, it has ABS, which Yamaha didn't have, and which possibly might have saved my neck. Instead of me crashing, it might have just saved my neck. Although I've been past the crash site a couple of times, and I've reviewed the footage of the video up to the point of the crash. And by the way, there is no footage of the crash because the GoPro once again let me down. And you'll all be going, oh yeah, sure it did, Lucky, yeah. But listen, if I had video footage of me crashing a motorcycle, you and I both know that the footage from bike crashes just absolutely drags in clicks on YouTube and Facebook and all the other bits and bobs. It just, you know, I would have had views through the roof now. I don't know how that YouTube stuff works and how important views and subscriptions are, but I'm sure it would have helped my channel enormously if I could put on some kind of horrible smash, because people are ghouls and they like nothing more than to watch other people having an unfortunate accident. So anyway, ABS, could it have saved me? Possibly, probably not. But this bike has ABS. It also has traction control, and I've had that kick in a couple of times, and it's just like somebody's just shut the throttle a bit. It's a little bit interfering. But the ABS I love. The only other bike I've had ABS on was that CBF 500, which did have ABS. And I actually really, I didn't think I trusted it first, and I was quite taken with it. And this, again, I'm quite taken with. So I like ABS now. I was of that school of thought that, oh, ABS, God, you just can't ride a bike. Oh, God, if you need ABS, you're not as good a rider as you should be. Nah, mate, I'm not as good a rider as I should be. Otherwise, I wouldn't have crashed. So I'll take all the electronic gizmos I can now at the age of 58. I'm slowing down. My eyes ain't as good. My reactions aren't anywhere near as good. You know, my ability to absorb information and process it at a speed that I need to ride a motorcycle has deteriorated since I used to ride my Hayabusa every day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 magpies. Wow, okay, that was pretty impressive. So yeah, what's 5 for? 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy, 5 for silver. Alright, okay. Hopefully I'll come into a bit of money. Likely I won't. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, ABS, traction control, I'm all for it. You might not want it, you might think, well, it's a bit of a cop-out. I'm not a real motorcyclist. I don't bloody care. I've got it on my bike, I like it, it helps me. Shut up. Now we're going up to a place, I'm bringing you this way, because we're going up to a place which is, if you'd looked at my previous video, especially the one where I'm out, well, particularly the one where I'm out and about with my friend Paul, or Augrey as we call him, he took us to the lowest road in England, which is down in the Fens in Norfolk. He took us there. We had a little drive along there, I forget how many meters, I think it's 3 or 4 meters below sea level. And I'm bringing you here because we're going across the highest road in England. In County Durham, the county where I live. And it's called Harthope Moss. Harthope Moss. highest road in England. Not the highest road in the UK, not the highest road in Britain, but it's the highest road in England. And I think the top 10 highest roads in England, I think 8 of the 10 are in County Durham, and, or 9 of the 10, and I think the 10th one is in a place, is in Cumbria, which is obviously, you know, a couple of counties along. So this is the road that runs up to Harthope Moss, and then from there it runs down into Weardale. And ideally what I'd like to do now is to try and get some drone footage of me running up and down this road, which would be nice. I've never done this before, so this will be a learning experience one way or the other. I'll either end up with some great footage, or I'll end up losing a £700 drone. Here is the highest point any road reaches in England. And we're going to park it, I think. Can we park it there? I think we probably can. Right, let's see if we can get this sorted out. I'm not sure how successful we'll be, but let's try it. This might be me learning a very expensive lesson. I've done that thing again, haven't I? Right, okay, so highest point in the whole of England, well, not the highest point, but the highest road, the highest point of the highest road in England. We're literally just dropping off now, and that's Hartside Moss in County Durham, on the edge of Weardale. So we're dropping down now. What we're going to do now is we're going to head past the place where I crashed Yamaha and have a little bit of an introspective there. I'm struggling now because I can't seem to get this jacket fastened. There we are. shall wend our bendy way down into Weardale. Behave you. Good girl. Itchy. I'm so busy scratching my hip there. I'm not looking at the corner. Well, I was looking at the corner, but I wasn't ready for it. Ow, ow, ow. I feel like somebody's bit me on me hip. I'm sure it hasn't. I'm sure it's just something scratching me in the jacket. We're going left here, aren't we? Yes. To Langdon Beck. On the left here, that road that runs up on the left, there's some good hikes up there. You get up there a little way and you park up, and then you wander past these houses, and these houses are kind of like built into the side of the hill here, and you wouldn't know they were there if you walk past them on the gable end of one, but they run kind of parallel to the hillside. They've got these lovely views into the immediate valley. Look at all the bikes today in the immediate valley next to them. And then you run on past there over a bit of farmland, and then finally you're up on the moors up there. And I like to look at maps, and I like to plot routes. And when I did a little bit more hiking, I should do more now, but I don't, but I should. When I did more hiking than I do now, I would spend an awful lot of time on ordnance survey maps online and plot my routes, and I plotted this route on that walk up there that I was telling you. And it was lovely, and I went by myself. It was about 2016, 17 maybe, because I had my own company at that point. And I took a day off, went walking, and I plotted this whole route, and I followed it, and I had my packed lunch, and you know, just having a jolly nice time on a day rather like today, and headed up on the moors. And I don't know what it was. It was, well, let's face it, what it was my own paranoia, most likely. But I just sat down on a rock in the middle of the heather, quite a view. Oh, we're going left, right. Quite a view over the beautiful landscape, the purple heather, and down it like kind of a long slope down, and then it hit a valley, and then it pulled up the other side. And miles in the distance there was a little farmhouse. I don't know if it was abandoned or not. It didn't look particularly well used. It was in the middle of nowhere. And at that point, I just got this unerring feeling of dread in me, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I felt incredibly vulnerable, and I felt that I was being watched. And I felt very, very, very exposed in that landscape. And I don't know if it's a supernatural thing. It felt almost like somebody had a gun sight, crosshairs on me. That's how it felt. Very, and you can't see because I'm all dressed up, but as I'm talking about this and remembering the event, the hairs on my arms and my legs are standing up now, and I've got a horrible prickly feeling. But yeah, it's very, very bizarre feeling of suddenly, and for no reason at all, completely out of the blue, feeling like I'm being watched. And it was a sinister it wasn't like, oh, that person's staring at me. It was a sinister something or somebody is watching me. I almost felt like I was being stalked or preyed upon, or about to be preyed upon, and I did not feel comfortable. And as far as I remember, I turned back at that point and did not continue on with the walk. I came back. I felt so unnerved and so out of sorts, just probably with my own head and my own vivid imagination playing tricks on me. I walked the 3 or 4 mile back to the car. And I never finished that route, and I've never been back since. And I don't think I'll go back either, certainly not alone. Just don't want that feeling to come across me again. It's just a horrible, vulnerable feeling. Yeah, there you go. Creepy tale. Creepy tale from somebody who's got a vivid imagination and is paranoid. Now, it was at this point where I did to a car what I'm about to do to this one. Once it clears, which is overtake it. But you can see that car heading off there to the left. We've got to be careful because this road goes over and then does an immediate hard left-hand turn. There you can see it up ahead. See the crest of the hill, you think, oh, that van's coming up there, but that is actually a tighter angle than it initially looks from back there. And if you've got nothing else coming past, or if there's nothing running up that road, oh my god, you're in trouble. And I went straight off here, went into here way too fast, skidded on this rough bit there that I still haven't fixed, and ended up in there. And poor Yamato, that was the end of her. It was nearly the end of me. Now, I can't remember ever being on this road before then, but an old friend of mine who I know watches these videos, or at least 3 seconds out of the hour that they last, he actually said that I have been up this road, and he's ridden up here with me on his Ducati when I was on my Hayabusa, but we were coming this way. And he said I nearly lost it then, which must have been back in 2000, 2001. There's a big difference, a world of difference between nearly losing it and losing it though. But it's a great road. You can see it descending off down the hill on this left hand side and then climbing up the valley there and some little twisty bits. It crosses a bridge in the valley. And yeah, it's a lovely road. It really is nice, but it's bloody dangerous. It encourages you to go fast because it's got lots of twists in them. But some of them are real killers. Like this one, for example. Slightly broken surface and a real switchback. That's probably a 110-degree corner. And then you've got this flip and it drops down, and then it's got this horrible bend to the right. Kind of not quite an adverse camber, nice trans up. Then it drops down to this little kind of wibbly wobbly, picturesque hobbity bit. Gravel there. You've got this hard left hand over the bridge where there's a car coming. And then you think, yeah, lots of fun playtime here on this road, but again, you've got this little bridge here which is a bit of a narrow thing. You don't want to be meeting anything coming the other way there. It is a nice road. Not the best place to have a cattle grid though, is it? Well, unless you're a farmer, I suppose. That section there is the upland section that High Cup Nick is part of. I believe that there is the lower end of the upland section and is actually a military range. I could be wrong. I think the military range covers that section there and runs all the way along to that section. Further on here, up ahead, and then slightly down to the south is Brough. We're not too far from it now. What it must be like to go and explore those dirt roads off into there. What a day that would be. Now, going through Appleby in Westmoreland, Appleby is famous for its horse fair that it has every year, where people who trade in horses come from all over, and they have the horse fair in Appleby, and they run Merton, no, Duff we want, and they run the horses up and down the high street and show them off for potential purchasers, and it's filled with people who travel from all over, and the travelling community and the Gypsy and Romany community come, and it's been going on for many years. I mean, I first heard of it as a child, and it must have been going for 100 years then. So yeah, famous for that, Appleby Horse Fair. And they trot them in the river as well. They run the horses into the river to cool them off, and just generally wash them and clean them and give them a bit of a bath. If you're interested in that kind of thing and you want to see more of that, I think there's a pretty good article. It's not an article, it's a program actually, and it's called Out of Town, and it's from the 70s, and it was done by a man called Jack Hargreaves, who was a wonderful presenter, and we're going road ahead closed. Okay, well that's ruined it for me, hasn't it? Great. We're going this way, and Jack Hargreaves did this program which is on every week called Out of Town, and it was about the old country ways. Is probably the best thing to describe it. It showed you how, you know, the dyeing trades. It would talk a little bit about those every week. And one week it had on Appleby Horse Fair, and he would go and visit these places. And he went to visit Appleby Horse Fair, and there's a good article. There's a good bit of footage on there. If you do a YouTube search for Out of Town with Jack Hargreaves, I'm sure, or Out of Town Appleby Horse Fair, I'm sure it will come up. I've seen it on there, and it'll tell you all about the horse fair if you're interested in that kind of thing. He's let me in, that's very kind of him. Well, after dragging ourselves off the A66, we're shoved back on the A66, so it looks like I will have to get my kicks on the A66 for the short term anyway till Dufton, and then we can hack through from Dufton to Melmerby on the back roads. Otherwise it's just a chew on. Right, Dufton. Here's that formation of land, the North Pennines I was telling you about, with the great gouges out of it, those fingers in the cake as it were. And you can see if we clear these trees and houses, we can maybe get a better view. I don't know if it'll afford us a better view as we pass this lovely church here. We might. Wow, what a lovely old church. Dufton, please. Diverted traffic. St Margaret's and St James Church of Longmarn. Yes, there we are. There's the I don't know if it's called, is it called Windstone Grit or something like that, or Windsill or something, or Millstone Grit, something. I seem to remember the words grit and some kind of sill, and the word win. The Windsill. Anyway, there's a big fault of, like a big ridge of big line of this rock pushed up like this gritty rock that runs for miles and miles and miles. It's very, very obvious when you're actually up at Harthope Moss. You can see it along the side of the hillside. We're along here. So as you can see, this is the western edge of the North Pennines. here all just kind of falls down into this flat area that we're on now. It's quite impressive when you're up there, I have to say. There's some impressive views, especially if you get to the top end of Harthope Moss and you look back down the valley. Yeah, it's something worth seeing. England's green and pleasant back lanes. A lot to be said for wandering down little lanes like this. It's quite a pleasant thing to do. If you don't do it too quickly and there's traffic coming the other way, it's not so much fun. But otherwise it's quite a pleasant way to spend an afternoon, chilling out around these little country lanes. And we're joining the motorcycles here up for Hartside, which is a shame. Although we'll see how we get on with them. I'm sure they'll want to go flying up the road. This now where we're joining, this is Hartside Pass, which will run us down to Alston over the top of the North Pennines here. It will run us down to Alston, which is the highest market town in England. And it's a bit of a Mecca for motorcyclists. They like to come here because of the twisty roads and the great corners and bends. But of course, with twisty roads and corners and bends comes accidents, don't we know about that? And where there's accidents and where there's motorcyclists and where there's twistiness, there's also activity from our friends the police. So we'll just follow these guys up. Be nice to watch them. Slow for my liking, but we'll sit behind him. I don't want to pressure him and I don't want to overtake him. There's no way I really can at this section overtake him without making myself look like an absolute TW4T. Left-hander coming up here as well, so you can see these bends, they are an attraction for motorcyclists. Another tight left after here, it just pulls up the hill. Spoil my fucking hell, get over, thanks very much. Starting to spoil my run a little bit here, isn't he? Never mind. Never mind, it's not all about me. He's having his fun and I've got no right to spoil it for him or her, I don't know, I can't tell. top now, so there used to be a cafe on the top, but it caught fire. And the sheepses spoiling everyone's fun. Naughty sheepses. Yeah, it caught fire a few years ago and they haven't rebuilt it. I think they said they were going to rebuild it, but they never have. They never have. And again, used to be a focal point for riders coming up here. They'd stop there, they'd ride for many, many miles to come up here. And they'd stop here and then have a bacon butty and a cuppa and a chat. And lots of people come from all over, and then they'd ride home. Or ride on. I came here a couple of months back, and I think I was on the VFR, so it wasn't a couple of months back, it was last year. I think it was on the VFR, and I met a group of kids on 125s and 250s and what have you up in this car park here, and they had come all the way from Glasgow and they'd rode up the Alston side, which is the side we're riding down right now, and they parked at the top there that we just passed on the right, and they didn't go down the hill. Now that section we've just come up is renowned as the best of it, and they chose not to ride down. I said, well, you've come all this way from Glasgow and you're not riding that way. But, no, we're not. We don't want to. So they didn't. I thought that was rather weird of them. Stay in. We were going to follow him. We'll stay. We'll wait. We're clear? Yes, we are. We're not going that way. We're heading off this way. And this is our way home. So we're going to miss out Alston. Or are we? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We probably end up going back over Harthope Moss. These guys are strung out over such a long way. I can see them almost a mile up ahead. nicely done. Nice bit of clear road there. Now got this funky McLaren looking thing in front of us, which is kind of weird. From the... where's that from? Ireland? Looks like it's Irish. A rather funky looking thing. I don't know if that's a gold wing at all or something entirely different. He's travelling with a gold wing, so I have to assume it is. That's not even rocking a number plate by the looks of it. If it is, it's something very weird. Oh, it is, yeah. Have I dispatched them all? That's the next question. Or is there more up ahead? Please don't let there be any more. Ah! Oh, there's millions of them! They're like midgies. Fat, big midgies. Things. I mean, they are lovely. They're a bit too lardy-arsed for my liking. Although I have always had a hankering for an original 1000cc wing. You know, the unfair thing that came out when? 1970? Goodness gracious, I can't even remember when. There's even more of them, my god! I thought this was the last one. Come on! Please do not turn up towards St John's Chapel. I beg of you. Here's our turning coming up. And they're not taking it. Oh, thank goodness. Praise be. Now I feel I can sit there and wave to them all as they go past. But I don't want to. Although it would give my backside a break. No, let's just crack on. We've got places to be ourselves. Could stop there for a wee. Moving on. Definitely did. Here we are, the highest point, or the highest road, the highest point of the highest road in England. The highest point of the highest road in England. This is Harthope Moss, on the border of Durham and Weardale. We need to move on. Oh gosh. Oh, you know what we should have done before we moved on? We should have changed the sat nav, shouldn't we?